Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Unknown. The G.B.U. podcast, hosted by Frank Flowers, features guest interviews on top of our regular episodes with the cousins. And today, we have a very special guest, one of the owners of Mike's Pastry, not just a pastry shop, but a Boston icon, Mr. Joe Papa. The G.B.U. podcast is produced and brought to you by Mountain View Media. Mountain View Media is your go-to creative media agency for professional videography and photography. And now, we kick it to Frank in studio.
One word.
The voice.
All right, we got Joe Papa here from Mike's Pastry and cousin Bruno
Yes, Mike's Pastry in the North End.
in the north end of Boston.
End of Boston.
We also got
Right?
cousin the unknown,
there's one in
G.B.U, also from the north end, born and raised.
Formerly.
And somehow you guys is related.
We are related.
Yeah, I'm glad
Somehow we are related.
Right.
you are related.
Right.
We are related.
And I want Joe, he's going to give us the whole history of Mike's Pastry because it is one of the biggest thing, I think, in the North End, you know, with other restaurants and everything like that. But Joe, start from the beginning with Mike, where he came from. And
All right. So Mike was born in Avellino. He moved here when he was around 12 years old.
we're all paisans then.
Yeah, well, of course. Got here when he was around 12 years old. He moved right to the North End with his parents, brother and sister. And I don't know how far you want me to get into
Whereabouts in the North End?
Hull Street,
Hall Street, okay.
across from the
Cemetery.
Cops Hill Cemetery, right. And quit school very early on. We can get more
Ninth
into
grade.
that. Ninth grade. Felt like the Italians that were already here weren't very nice to the newer immigrants.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
I never really heard of that.
yeah. And so he started doing two things: hanging out in a bakery, Mondello's, and
Where was Mondello's? In Boston?
it was on Hanover Street,
Oh, it was.
right next door to Mike's, where Mike's is now.
Okay.
Where the laundromat is. And he was, I hate to use the term seamstress, but he used to make clothes.
So
Loved
he's a talented guy.
Yeah, oh, he loved doing that. And as time went
I want to
on,
know about his character, what type of person he was. And,
yeah, that's why I said I didn't know how far you
yeah,
wanted
no,
me to get
I need
into
to understand the whole background.
Yeah.
of him.
So he was, I'll start with him. He was a good guy, but he was tough as nails, as in there was nothing he couldn't do. He could have opened any business he wanted. He would have
Really?
been successful. I can remember, I'm going to go off on tangents. I can remember being a kid, early teens. He had a house down Cape Cod, and he would make me pull nails out of these huge logs or pieces of wood. He was building his own seawall. And then one day he woke up, he lived on a slab, so he wanted to have some sort of a crawl space. And I would sit outside this hole that he built, and he would pass me a shovel, and I'd have to throw it in the water on Bass River and give it back to him. During holidays, he did all the cooking. In the store, he was the maintenance guy. He was obviously
Multi-talented
Every he could. I used to be an awe. Don't get me wrong. Like as a kid, I couldn't do anything, but I would see him and I was like, I'll never be able to do half the things that this guy's able to do.
That's amazing.
So how did it come about that he transitioned from where he was next door to what happened at Mike's?
So he had a paisan, Rocco, and I think Rocco was a little bit older than him. First of all, let me just backtrack a little. For practical purposes, Mike was my stepfather, but we really didn't have that relationship because he married my mother when I was 17. They got a house together.
How old were you?
I was 17.
Oh, you were 17.
Yeah, 16 years old. They bought a house together in Winthrop because.
But you knew him way before that.
Oh yeah, I knew him as I worked there as like say a 12-year-old.
Okay.
My great aunt died. She owned the building, and her kids decided they were going to sell the building. Mike and my mother just made a decision. I think he didn't want to like move into her house, like her apartment. Yeah. So he says, "We'll buy a house. Like, why live in the apartment?" I didn't want to go, so I moved in with my grandmother because I lived there anyway. You know, the way the building was situated.
You know, a lot of people did that. That's why there were so many three families.
Yeah.
Building. Everybody lived together.
So the building was a single face. It was like a horseshoe design. with fire escapes in the back. And it was 33, my apartment, 29, my aunt's, 29, my grandmother, 33, my great aunt, her sister Josie, my godmother.
All in one building.
Well, they were two buildings, but they were all attached by fire escapes.
But I'm saying in one,
Yeah, so I never had to go anywhere.
you got your choice of meals.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like if my mother had to work and I didn't want to do my homework, Mom, go to Nana's, and I'd be down there. So it was a very easy move for me just to go to my grandmother's house. And I see my mother every day anyway in the store. You know, even when I was in school, I just
This
see
is
her.
on Prince.
No, Clark Street.
Oh, it's still on Clark. This
Yeah.
is on Clark.
Yeah, all Clark Street. So anyway, they moved. They got married. I forgot what the question was.
Rocco's, you were starting with.
Oh, right.
His paisan.
So Mike was working in Mondello's in, no, I was going back in time. You threw me off.
No, you were just talking about he was in Mandela.
Right, but I was-
how he started into
Right, but I was trying to give you a description
you gave it to us.
of our family. Okay, good. So him and Rocco decided that they were going to open up their own place, and they called it Rocco's, and it was down the street, I think near the Cafe, not Victoria, the old
Del Sport,
Pompeii.
Pompeii. Okay.
It was down in that area.
Okay.
And like stupid story.
And this is the 40s, 50s, what, 60s? What are we talking here?
So this is probably sometime in the late 40s.
Okay.
But the Mondello's thing was early. You know, Mondello's would be when he was like 14, 15, 16 years old. Yeah, because again, he left school in 9th grade. But that was later on. And Mike answered the phone one day, and it was some radio station.
Kiss 108.
Yeah, because right. It named the song, and he names the song, and I think he won $500. I think at one point when I told the story, he told me it was $1,000, and then later he said no, it was $500. But anyway, like 3, 4, 5 weeks went by, and he went to Rocco, and he says, "Hey, did we ever get that money?" And Rocco was like, "No, it didn't come in yet." And Mike ultimately found out that Rocco kept the check.
Come on.
Yeah, he was hurt. I remember. So that's where I was getting.
How old was Rocco to him?
I don't know.
Okay.
But that's what I was getting at before. I didn't learn all this stuff until later in life. When Mike was 79 years old, he was like me. He was like a 50-year-old guy, never worked out a day in his life, but worked all the time, took up golf when he was like 65 years old. Again, he was just incredible. Just before his 80th birthday, my mother was having a big bash for him. 500 people down at the World Trade Center in Southie. People from all over the country were coming in. I think he had like heat stroke from golfing. Tuesday was always his day off, like my whole life. So he would golf in the morning, lunch, dinner, and then bocce in the North End. It's funny. I just saw Richie Spags, my North End, and they're still playing bocce on Tuesday nights after all these years.
Does he still park his Cadillac out
Yeah,
front?
I don't.
Double parks.
Listen,
The Maserati.
And he shines it up?
Maserati.
I just happened to see that.
Maserati.
Got a
I
Maserati,
got a
bro.
laugh at it because I know Mike. Oh, it was Tuesday, but Mike called my mother that day and says, "Listen, I don't think I'm going to play bocce tonight. I'm not feeling well. I'm just going to have dinner and come home." He must have had heat stroke. He passed out, got into a pretty serious car accident, and for like 3-4 years he was like under rehab. He broke his hip, and while they were trying to replace
80 years old?
at 80 years old, while they tried to put it back in, an embolism broke off larger than his lungs. And like I swear, at that moment, he went from an 80-year-old guy who's 50 to an 80-year-old guy who's 80. But the son of a bitch, let me tell you, he battled back. So anyway, I used to have to stay with him at night just so my mother could sleep. Like he wouldn't go to bed. I would catch him 1 a.m. doing like squats, holding onto the sink because he wanted to get better again, and he did. He bounced back, and then the last 5 years, he started really showing his age, and his death was imminent. You know, it took 5 years, but he was declining.
Joe, he was the main baker at one point.
Was he a baker?
Well, at the beginning,
Well, let's do this so we don't confuse everybody. So
Right.
he's with Rocco. He gets beat by Rocco. What's his reaction to that?
I don't know if it was immediately, but he told me I couldn't trust him anymore. I didn't want to be with him, so I started working towards opening my own place. I think his parents helped him financially a little bit as best they could. Mike's Pastry, where Varese Shoes was,
Yeah, across the street.
across the street,
that's right.
that space opened up, and he took it, and he started Mike's Pastry there.
I used to look at that store all the time when I was a kid. On a Sunday, I used to look at the shoe store all the time.
Oh, Varese, yeah, it was great. It really was. I was just at
No, it
Jordan's.
was the other. It was towards the other end. Was it Reese's?
It was, no, it was on the corner, right where.
Just
All right,
it
so
was the
he-
second store from the car.
yeah.
So he put a new bakery on his own.
On his own.
Okay.
On
How
his
old
own.
is he at this time?
So again, here's where it comes
discrepancy
right.
goes.
So my nephew did a report on Mike years ago when he was in high school, and Mike told him 1946. But during this time when Mike was getting older and failing, I was spending a lot of time sleeping over. Again, just to give my mother a break so she could sleep because he would never go to bed. When he told me the story, it was 1956 to 1962 that he was there. So I don't know if he, to use Roger Clemens' term, misremembered, later on in life. But for our purposes, we'll go with
was
50.
there.
Right, we'll go with 56. Who cares?
So he started. What did he call it?
Mike's Pastry.
Oh, so it was Mike's
It
Pastry.
was Mike's Pastry from day one. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He wanted no partners. He
And
wanted
who
nothing.
worked with him at the time? How old was he?
So if it was 56, he was born in 22. So if it was 56, he was like 35 years old. I think he did a lot of the work on his own. I know through the years, there are so many different
So
bakers.
he's a baker. He became a baker.
Again, he can do everything.
I hear
So
you.
coming out of the gate, did Mike's have sort of a signature sort of product that just caught on, or was it just pretty
Yeah,
much?
so I'm born in 64. I can't tell you from 56, to 62.
So he's in the place at 50, across the street of Arisa's Shoes.
Right. The funny part of the story is my daughter just got married, had my first grandchild. Mike's Pastry, where it is right now, prior to Mike's Pastry, was Noise Cleaners. My mother and my new son-in-law's grandmother worked together in Noise Cleaners. And my mother, I remember years ago telling me, I used to tell her, I will never work in this place again. It is the worst place. She hated Mr. Noise. She hated being in that store. The pipes broke. She had to find a new job.
Really?
The Angelos somehow took over the building, and Danny and Mike were friendly.
Where in
All
Noise
of them.
Place? That place is so small. Where?
Not Noise Place, Noise Cleaners. Did I say Noise Place?
No, Noise
No,
Cleaners.
Noise Cleaners.
Noise Cleaners. Okay.
And he said, listen, you're getting too big. You need a bigger place. I got the spot across the street. And of course, Mike was nervous. They were friends, but
Yeah, Danny was a gentleman, though. I
Yeah.
actually know his son Caesar.
Yeah,
I
I know
Danny
Caesar
once
as well.
through the flower shop.
Yeah.
I think Caesar was part of the flower.
yeah, but Mike knew. Listen, this was business. I have
Real
to.
nice guy.
Right. I have to get the money in a year. And he says, 12 o'clock that day, as he tells the story.
1 year later.
Yeah, I paid him.
He would have lost it.
Yeah, sure.
They liked you, but they were ruthless.
Yeah, well, listen, again, business is business. And
That's amazing. And he worked hard. He paid off
Yeah,
that loan.
absolutely.
And he moved across the street
in
where
1962.
Mike's Pastry is today.
Right, 1962. So
Which
now
creates a roadblock
it
on the
does.
sidewalk.
It does. And
Sidewalk to this
And we
day.
do apologize for that.
Chaos.
I don't know what else I can say. We do
I love it.
apologize, but
I
I
do
don't know
love
what
it.
else we
How
can
far
do.
back do those lines go, you think?
Well, they've been as far as the cleaners that your sister-in-law
Yeah, we're right
is
around
running
the corner.
around the corner.
I mean, when I was
Ella
when
Sport
I was
around
a,
the
when
corner.
I was a kid back in the late '70s and early '80s. I mean, that's not a big point of reference, but even then, at that point, it was
Sure. Yeah.
backed up even to that
So
extent.
I can remember being a 12, 13, 14, all the way to like 18 years old. We used to make donuts on Sunday mornings. We'd have to be in at 4 o'clock. We'd be in there with our disco shoes on. And
Sunday donuts?
Sunday donuts. And we would make like 200 dozen donuts. And back then we had St. Mary's Church,
Yep.
Sacred Heart Church, St. Leonard's Church. And they all had masses that ran 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. The line would be out the door until all the
With
donuts.
North Enders.
With North Enders. Well, who's going to church in there?
Not today is not just
No,
tourists.
that's right. No, I disagree, but
No?
I got you.
But back then it was all North Enders.
All North Enders,
amazing.
during Sundays. And funny story, the reason Mike stopped, he would make 200 dozen donuts. He would come into work at, say, 10, 11 o'clock because it was Sunday. There'd be about $12 in the register.
Oh,
And
you
it-
get them all the way.
my grandmother would come take a dozen.
Right. Yeah, okay.
But worse, my wife's family owned Laurie Ann's, which was a really cool like sub shop, ice cream parlor, video games. Her cousin would come in.
I used to eat there every day.
Right? It was
When I
unbelievable.
was at St. Anthony's, I used to
Oh,
go there every day
it
for
was
lunch.
unreal.
Yep.
And he would make us cheeseburgers on the toast that's on the griddle, and we would barter. We'd give him like 3 dozen free donuts. The guys from Bay State Lobster would come down. They'd bring us some lobsters.
This
We'd
is the
buy-
beginning.
Yeah.
Were you there at the time?
Yeah. Again, this is from like 13 years old.
your mother was
till
working there,
18. Yeah, my mother was working there. My brother was working there. All Mike's nephews were working. We were all friends. You know, we all worked
It
together.
was a family business.
It's always been a
100%.
family. It's always been a family business. But that's why Mike said, like, I'm not going to make donuts any. It doesn't make sense. I'm making no money. He knew what was going on, but so we stopped making donuts. Then my brother picked it up years later, but things are different. You know, Sunday mornings aren't the same. It's you don't. There's no churches anymore. St. Leonard's has masses, but that's it. And
Remember the North End Sunday morning donuts? Everybody had donuts. On
there'd be
every-
500 guys hanging out in suits.
But Bob
all up and
Bob
down
was an
entry.
Indica Street. He had a whole batch. I think he got up.
And we were talking earlier. You had a lot of seats in there, or you had a lot. Of
We had
tables
some seats, right?
on the edges.
Right. We used to have those old dinosaur bread holders and pie holders. Yeah.
So now
Split up
it's
the
just an
store.
open area.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
We really have I don't want to say we got too big, but we've gotten so busy that we really had to just become a takeout store. So that you're going back to the early 80s to mid 80s, maybe even the late 70s to the early 80s, that was not true. Years ago, I have like 5 or 6 really good friends, and all our fathers died very early. We happened to be together one day, and I said, no, what we should do, we should start going out like every other month just to have dinner. And I jokingly called us the Dead Father Society. From there, it grew to about 30 people. Now we are up to maybe 100, 125 guys, where we have dinners at the church downstairs. And one day a year, we have it down at the bocce courts. We have a whole grill where we call ourselves Brothers by Choice.
Isn't that the Brothers by Choice?
Brothers by
gathering?
Choice.
Oh, you know about it?
Yeah.
And there's, again, 100 to 125. I'll bet 90% of them are Mike's Pastry fans / customers. I'm born and raised in the North End. There was a time I knew everybody. Friends is a loosely used term, as you know, in the North End, right? We're all friends.
Yeah.
Everybody's friends.
Cousins.
Right. I've never been to dinner at your house.
We're all cousins.
Right. Exactly.
If you're his cousin, you're my cousin.
That's right, exactly. But I have so many people that I know, like they come in, they complain to me, just like you said, you should have a line. Well, if not,
They
then
got the pre-order line. Don't the
No.
North Enders call ahead of time?
no, we don't even answer the phone. We're so busy.
You-
But not
these
the point.
These
The
guys
point
want a
is-
separate line for them. They want a separate line.
Yeah,
Ralph
well,
does that for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Umberto's okay. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I don't think Ralph does
think
that.
Ralph
I
does.
think people just do it, and Ralph's so
Just how exactly
Ralph's so
happens.
nice.
He
How
is
can I
such a
help
nice
you?
guy. He is.
That just literally
Yeah.
happened, and I don't know when.
Yeah,
My mother-in-law goes to
That's
Ralph.
like a little
She goes
secret.
to- she goes to the up like, Mike, don't try it. You'll never get it. Don't worry about it. She gets in. She goes to Ralph. She goes to Atu. She goes everywhere.
right. So we have Marianne in there, Marianne Valerisi. She's been,
She knows everybody.
and everybody knows her.
Marianne, here's a little plug for you.
Yeah, right. I can't stand her. But anyway,
It's all right.
right.
Marianne, remember my face
But the North Enders
when
know.
I come in.
They know. They make.
I'm not waiting in line.
They make eye contact with Marianne, and she gives them the thing. The problem we have sometimes is, listen, there might be 100 people in the store. I see you in the back. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, just come on up. Oh, I got your. It gets difficult, but we do take care of, in that way, North Enders. But again, I couldn't disagree more with the premise that only tourists. But I will say this as well. I wanted to expound on this.
You don't recognize anybody in that line.
Well, maybe you don't.
I don't.
Joe,
Yeah, they've been at it.
I do.
can we agree that there's a lot of tourists?
Of course, but listen, when I was
Shitloads.
a kid, I know you moved out early, but when I was a kid, there were 4, maybe 6 restaurants, right? How many people were coming to North End? Now there's 100 restaurants. Are you telling me that all those 100 restaurants are getting what? Not tourists, whatever term you want to use. We get the same percentage as them.
Not Enders per se, whether it's ancestral or the ones who live there now. They go to Mike's. I would say probably the other ones are getting the tourists more than Mike's is per se.
Yeah, I don't.
Guys like us going to
Yeah.
Right. I don't
on
know
a
what the number.
Tuesday night when
When
it's
you
not-
think pastry in North End, you think of Mike's. Everybody goes.
Mike's.
I
is
would
on the
agree
map.
with. I would agree.
Mike
with
is
that.
the North End. You talk about the North End, it's Mike's. I'm not
There's
taking
a
anything
couple-
away
there's a
from
couple
Nick
signature-
Serrano
signature-
or
yeah.
Frank Di Pasquale's,
No.
but for pastry, Mike's is on the map.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what I want to talk about?
Nope.
We've talked about, because I met you at Giuseppe's.
Yes, we did.
Let's talk about the macaroons.
Let's talk about the macaroons. I assume you mean
I don't think
the pistachio
pistachios.
macaroons. Right.
Because nobody knows this.
Oh, so you want the
Except for
story?
you.
Yeah. Well, not only me, my mother knows. She was
Everybody
there.
likes pistachio macaroons.
Oh, they are really good.
Especially in a nice espresso.
My mother and Mike went back to Mineo, Sicily, where my mother's family is from. And in Mineo, she said, like, there weren't restaurants. It was like you walk in, there was no menu. Whatever they served, you ate. If you wanted a chicken, that was the dish. If you wanted fish, that was the dish. And they were there for about 2, maybe 3 weeks. And in one of the places they went, they served these cookies. And my mother said, I remember Mike sitting there trying to figure out what it was, but too proud to ask. Came home, made several batches. I remember throwing trays.
True
and-
business people.
yeah, just like disgusted that he couldn't get it. And eventually he got it. And then lo and behold, but Mike always said this, it wasn't a big deal. The other bakery started getting them. The other bakery started getting them. But
Because of you.
Yeah, well, not because of me, because of Mike.
Because
he brought
of
the
Mike's.
Right, he brought the pistachio macaroons to the North End. And where was I going with this? I always lose my train of
I
thought.
was talking about the pistachio. He was the first one to bring
First one.
pistachio
Right.
macaroons. I think Paziali even, or Bova's or something.
Bova's has them. So
Bova's.
Bova's.
Everybody started because
yeah, yeah.
of Mike.
So
What they did the same thing. They went to Mike.
Pistachio macaroons.
that's what I was saying. But Mike always
Pistachios
said,
are-
there's one thing you can't control in this business. Like bakers go from store to store for whatever reason. What are you going to tell them? You're going to sign an NDA? You can't use this recipe? Recipes are recipes. He goes, I've done it. I've been to a place. I was.
But he's the one who brought macaroons to Boston.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I got to give him credit. You know, these people.
And lobster tails. And lobster tails.
Really?
The first place to have lobster
favorite.
tails.
I have to say the macaroons have to be the best in the state.
Yeah, I would agree.
Have to be.
100%.
I don't think any.
In terms of popularity, how popular they're in terms of all your products? Would you say they're up there?
The pistachio macaroon,
Yes.
I would say behind so pistachio macaroon is a little different because you can buy one, but as a whole, I would say cannolis, lobster tails, pistachio macaroon. Okay.
You know what's funny? As kids, we grew up. That was a dessert. As kids.
Yeah.
The pistachios. My mother used to give us a little coffee. You dip them in there. Oh, they were amazing. You also had a macaroni night. What was that all about?
Yeah, you're losing me.
Did I?
Yeah. So I
I thought
think,
he had a macaroni night
no,
for the staff, or
no,
maybe you guys had one.
no. I'll fill in the blank here because I remember us talking about
Man,
this
Wednesday's always Prince
a few
Spaghetti,
weeks
right?
ago.
Maybe a macaroon night.
No. So I don't know if you're aware of this.
Hey, easy with the giggles over there. It's not a joke.
I don't know if you're
he's dead
aware of
serious.
this.
Fucking giggler.
But without mentioning other stores' names, because again, stay in your lane, do what you do. Mike's Pastry is the only bakery that makes their own cannoli shells. Everybody else buys theirs from a warehouse. Okay. And the analogy that I used with the macaroni night was, as a kid, my grandmother on Thursday night, not Wednesday, and not Prince Spaghetti,
Okay, this is it right here.
right, Ronzoni. I was a Ronzoni kid. She would make 2 boxes of Ronzoni, always had a gravy in the refrigerator, and that was dinner. Every once in a while, a chicken cutlet.
Should have had a race with the Prince Spaghetti kid, Anthony.
I liked Anthony. He was a good guy.
He was the best.
But on Saturday, my great aunt Josie, who lived across the fire escape, my grandmother, her mother, and my aunt Emma, who lived up the street, would come to my grandmother's house, and they would make like 10 pounds of homemade macaroni, liner and fusilli, penny,
What day of the week?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay.
She would even make the homemade sausages with a funnel. My grandmother was this big. With the funnel, stick it in, and first my grandmother would grab one and pull it all the way down and tie it off. And while she was tying it off, the other one would jump, and they would do it. But Sunday dinner was incredible because it was homemade macaroni. And my analogy is Mike's is Sunday dinner with the homemade macaroni. Everybody else is Ronzoni. Nothing wrong with Ronzoni. I grew up on it, but it's not the same. And I listen, you go to a restaurant now in the North End, if they make their own macaroni, what do they write? Homemade, blah, 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 right? If they don't,
Does it come off? Do they dry it on top of a bed?
Yeah. I never understood why. The big sheet. And I used to eat the raw raviolis. Like, it was never
I
a
didn't
big
like it raw, but I remember
Oh,
as a
I loved
kid,
it raw.
on a Sunday, my grandmother used to. I was the fusilli kid.
Yeah.
She used to give me that
little.
what is it called? Like a
The stick. Yeah.
twisted metal.
Yeah.
stick.
Yeah.
And he used to
Make
just
spiral,
keep rolling them. And then she would get my mother and father had the master bedroom, whatever.
Yeah, same
The
thing.
bedroom was
Right off the
over there.
kitchen.
Right off the kitchen. And the sheets on top of the bed. And they used to put all the pasta on the
Yeah.
bed.
They would make 10 pounds, I'm telling you. Then they would
Yeah,
just
and
take,
they'd have to dry for so many hours.
They would take 2.5 pounds
It was
each
a whole
home.
process, the whole Sunday morning. You know?
Right. And then Sunday morning was my grandmother's door would be open, my Aunt Josie, so my cousins from Revere, Jamie's grandmother. He would come in and we'd go there, and my grandmother up the street would, my great grandmother. And it wasn't every Saturday, but it was most Saturdays. But not the point. The point is,
Thursdays.
homemade is homemade.
Homemade.
Hand rolled is hand rolled. We make 5,000-6,000 hand rolled, and I'm rolling a cannoli.
That was my question. You're talking about the cannoli rolls.
Cannoli. We hand roll them, fry them. They cool in a box, and then we fill them. You know, years ago.
I mean, there's no secret to it, but you did explain it to me. So there's a roll. They have these rolls, right?
Yeah.
Explain it. Go ahead. Go through the
Okay,
whole
so
thing.
we have a sheeter.
Amazing. That's a lot of
Oh my
lot
God.
of cannoli.
It is.
Every day.
Every day. Well, we do it about 6 days a week, and then sometimes in the summer, we might have to put a crew on at night.
If it was 5.5 days a week, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid,
That's a lot of work.
maybe 1.5 days, we would bang out cannolis, and that was it. But of course, we have 4 stores now.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. But cannolis have taken off.
You had the little pins you were telling me, and
Wood dowels.
Yep.
And you have to have a lot of them because they have to cool or you burn your fingers. So anyway, you get a chunk of dough, put it through a sheeter several times until you get the density. Put it into a rolling pin, spread it out, aerate it. We have a thing that we aerate. Then we have a cutter. When we cut them, and they look like footballs.
Yeah.
Get an egg wash. Got to put the egg wash on top. Put the dowel in the middle. So you envision like one guy's cutting, and as he's moving on, the next guy's putting the egg wash. And while he's moving, the next guy's putting the dowels. And while he's moving, the next guy's starting to tie. And then we all come together. 55 on a tray, 5 by 11 on these iron screens. 2 fryer laters in the back, and just keep banging them out, banging them out. And they pretty much do that all day.
And so when they
every
dry,
day.
that's when they take the dowels out.
Right.
I was confused.
And they do this in the back of Mike's? In the back?
In the back of Mike.
Back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That building's longer than you.
Yeah.
yeah, it's all the way to the.
Yeah.
the
They're in the fry later for 20 seconds.
No. It's a little more than that.
Oh, they are?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, it might
they're
be.
frying.
Yeah, it might be upwards of a minute.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not much longer than that, but
Minute
Wait,
done.
and then how much regatta do you buy?
dude, you have no idea. No, how's this? I have no idea. It gets delivered like 5 days a week. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's probably bad business. Like me and my brother joke, this is what makes Mike's Mike, so we'll never change. But we're probably better off just buying the shelves from somebody else. I'll tell you a story. I won't say that other part. Years ago, not years ago,
say it.
a few years ago, my son had a meeting with a very prominent tomato sauce company. Put your own name in there.
I already know the name.
They're so big.
Starts with an M.
No.
Oh?
They're so big that I shouldn't have said no. No, but don't ask me any more questions.
I'm not always right.
I know. They're so big that they're in every major supermarket in the country, and they don't pay for counter space. They wanted to get into the snack business, and they asked my son if we would make cannoli chips for them. We don't have, like, that's another, like,
That's you guys?
yeah, that would be another company.
This
that
is
we
your
would
number
have to
one
sell.
customer over there.
I'm sure, no doubt. Yeah, no, we don't do it.
Oh.
We didn't do it. They wanted us to do it for them, and we had to tell them we're not set up for it. Like that's not something that you can just like, all right, stop making our cannolis. This is national. Like we can't do it. If our kids want to do it at some point, knock yourselves out, guys. Like when I'm
So
gone,
you just make cannolis for your own location.
for our own location.
That's it.
We don't sell pastry to any restaurants. 2 reasons. One, we work too goddamn hard to wholesale, which is what they want. And 2, well, there's 3 reasons. 2, we cannot guarantee freshness because you could buy it on Thursday, fill it,
You got no control.
none. And the third thing is, if you're going to make money, you're going to take our cannoli, and sell it for what, $12? And then I have to have a customer come in and say, I just had this cannoli over there. It's $12. Why is it $7 here and 12? No, we're not going to do that.
You guys do have multiple locations, though, correct?
We have 4.
Okay.
But we're not going to do that to our customers. Our customers are very loyal. I mean, during COVID,
I have that question too.
I'm sorry. I'll wait for you to ask the question.
Well, if you think, let's talk about COVID.
Yeah, it was tough.
It was tough for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
How'd you guys battle through?
Well, first and foremost, we didn't stop working, but you know,
That was amazing.
That's
a lot of people just stopped.
Yeah, that 6-foot rule was.
You thought you were going to stop. Weren't
Yeah.
you were worried.
Oh my God! When I first, so we made a beer with Harpoon, and the night before the world closed down,
Yeah.
we had this huge thing at Harpoon Brewery. I'll tell you, there might have been 500 people there. We were filling cannolis, drinking the beer. It was great. Next day, I remember my brother calling me. He goes, I don't know what to do. He goes, this is insane. I said, well, I'm coming in. He goes, come in, but I'll be working. I went in, and you know, all these rules were being put in effect. And to answer your question, what do? We adapted. Our online business absolutely took off. We actually had to tell the shipping company to limit us because we couldn't keep up doing it, which is why I say we are a national company.
Well, you're actually saying you were busier?
They were busier during
I wouldn't say
during-
no. I wouldn't say we were busier.
Or
but
busy.
We didn't really lose our stride like a lot of other places. That now listen,
You
restaurants
delivered?
not deliver, ship.
Ship.
You buy kits of 10 cannolis.
Imagine how addicted people are to cannolis.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it really is something. But I won't say they're addicted to cannolis. They're addicted to our cannolis. You know, when I was in Sicily, I went to Sicily last, was it August, with Giuseppe and Stephanie?
Yeah. Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
They asked. We were in Portugal. We were supposed to go there.
Oh my God, what a great time.
I should have.
And I saw it through the Federa's eyes, you know, people who were
They're
born
the
and
best.
raised.
Are they the best?
Yeah. So it was great.
I
But
think an apartment building there. They
Yeah.
said, well, we got apartments for you. Just
Oh, it was
come down."
incredible.
But I had the kids.
nobody sleeps.
Nobody.
3, 4 in the morning, they're still outside drinking.
Those are the people I went to Naples with the dog situation.
And anyway, you can throw me off.
Sorry. We're talking about COVID.
Cannolis.
Cannolis. People love cannolis.
Even in
Only
Sic-
your cannolis.
Even in Sicily, they don't make their own cannolis.
No?
All the cannolis were the same. Like they were dark brown. I didn't have one. But you can tell that they weren't being made by the person selling them. And in fact, in one of the stores we went, the lady said, I can give you the name of the company. And I was like, no, we make our own. Like, and when
I'm a professional
cannoli eater.
lobster tail
Yeah.
eater and a cannoli eater.
Yeah.
The shell, it can't crack. You know what I mean?
You mean
Big
professional.
pieces. You put it in front. That's
Does
the only
it-
dessert I
does it
eat.
often.
I know
I'm
we
partial-
talked about
I'm partial
Twinkies
to,
and ring dings. You guys waste your time on that garbage. This is the dessert you ingest. The cannolis, and it's true. I've had the Mike's. They melt in your mouth. The regatta inside. The lobster tail with the flaky pastry.
It's not really flaky.
crunchy.
It's a crispy pastry.
Crisp. If it's not crispy, send it back. Save your receipt and send it back. With a nice cup of coffee, it's the best thing.
Very
I
filling.
know my cousin loves Twinkies.
So,
but
setting aside the indictment against good old-fashioned Americana that's going on at that side of the table, I'm going to say that I'm going to be diplomatic. I'm going to ignore that because I'm in a good mood tonight.
he loves cannoli.
And I'm partial to Svoyadel.
Oof.
Solid. It's a
Yeah.
solid dessert. Yeah.
I just-
another dessert that's very difficult to make. Long process. Like we should probably get
Layering, I would imagine.
right.
Correct.
We should probably get about $15 if people knew how they were actually made and how
a
much.
lot of work.
Oh my God, it's insane.
You know what I love that you guys make is the marzipan. You ever have the marzipan?
Yeah.
Apples, bananas,
Yeah.
fruit.
So my niece Rebecca.
Yeah. What other than the cannoli and the lobster tail?
want more?
Yeah. What is the biggest seller like? Like third or
Aside from
fourth?
those?
Yeah.
Well,
A lot of people come to Mike's for what? The cannolis.
Yes, I think at this juncture, first and foremost, that and the lobster tails. The Italian pastry is still very popular. The difference is when I was a kid, we probably had 10 different types of Italian pastry, but in honestly, they're all the same. They're the same sponge. It's just molded differently. It's the same creams. It's the same rum. Whether it's a Savoia or a rum square. So my brother kind of got away because you need more space.
Yeah.
And without getting a bigger store. So instead of making 3 different types of Savoyas, we make one. We still make the rum square, which are, again, still very popular. The cream puffs are very popular. The lobster tail and the Boston cream puff. Boston cream is, I'm just thinking as I'm talking, is incredibly popular. Like, I think my brother probably makes, I'm going to go to 50 Boston cream pie every day.
Pure
Well,
heaven.
I do
Pure
have a
heaven,
system when I
never had one there.
when I do cut the
When you cut
line.
the line? Pure
heaven.
I go through the cases. I'm looking everywhere, so I bamboozle everybody. They don't know what part of the line I'm in. But when you look at everything, you want to eat every
I know.
single
I know.
pastry.
me tell
Now, let me ask you a personal question.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're responsible for people ruining people's diets?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to get into
More indictment.
So when I was a trooper, I left for 22 years, and we can talk about that
Yeah.
with Mike if we have time. But I
Plenty
retired.
of time.
I retired in 2007, 42 years old. I was 212 pounds. I was working out every day at the barracks. Me and my brother, come back, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I go back. A year later, I was 262 pounds
Wow. From the pastries.
from the pastries. I would be decorating cakes, right? You get a little board coffee, grab a couple cookies, throw those down. Then we made French bread at the time. Our French bread I thought it was great, but there's no dough
Oh,
in
you
it.
also do bread there.
No more. One, there's no dough in bread, but it was taking up too much time in the oven. We got too busy.
I remember.
We needed the oven
I think you did
space.
some pizza.
I know how you guys can make extra money.
Very early on, yeah, we did the
I
pizza.
was doing
Mike did it.
slice.
We used to have the window with the little awning out front
Oh,
for the pizza.
In your next meeting, family meeting,
Yep.
go visit all the gyms and tell them, listen, we need a piece of the gym action because we're creating this business for you.
Okay. I'll try to do that. I don't think it's going to work.
Mike.
But yeah,
So
go ahead.
what were you just talking about?
I was talking about 262 pounds and how I got there.
You were a trooper. You actually left there for a while.
I left.
How
Well,
was Mike when you told me you were going to become a trooper?
so
Because you were working there.
yeah, so I left college at 18 years old. I knew it wasn't for me, and I went home. I told my mother, I said, "Ma, I need a job," and she goes, "Well, go talk to Mike. He'll give you a job." I went in, and all he said was, "Listen, of course you can have a job, but don't leave in 6 months because you get a job someplace else and they're paying you $1 an hour more. If you want to learn the bakery business, I'll teach you the bakery business. Maybe someday you open your own bakery." Okay, I'll do it. So I started there in, I think, February of 84. Yeah, February of 84. And at some point, like in July, me and my friend Dom DeCenzo decided to take the state police exam. Why not? But I was working 6 days a week, Tuesdays off. And Mike, good guy.
You got
but
Tuesdays off too?
Tuesdays off. Yeah.
you go
I
away?
told you, Mike used to be closed. But even when he opened, it was only open until 6 o'clock. Every other night was 9 o'clock. So Tuesday was everybody's day off. I think like maybe 1 or 2 guys would go in just to keep the store going on a Tuesday. A lot of maintenance
Why
stuff.
Tuesdays? Did you know?
That's what he picked.
So I would, if I had to guess, it was because other businesses closed on Monday. I'll get the Monday business and then I'll close on Tuesday.
Okay.
I actually worked in a restaurant, Bernardo's, when I was a kid, and Angelo did that. So maybe that's it. But I don't know, to answer your question. So anyway, stupid me passed the test. And very exciting. I took the test at 19 years old. I got the results when I was 20 years old, like a week apart. And, my mother comes in. She goes, "Oh, my God, that's great, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, I don't know if I want to go. "What do you mean you don't want to go?" I don't know if I want to go. And when I was younger, Mike used to always tell me, "Yeah, go to college. It's good. Become mayor or governor, and maybe you'll turn the city around or change things in the state." And he used to call me governor, and I used to call him boss. So anyway, my mother gets upset that I'm thinking about not going. And she must have told Mike, because the next morning when I show up for work, he's sitting in the office, which was a little rare at that point. He used to come in a little bit later, and he would roll back in his chair, and he looked, and he goes, Joseph, come in here, I want to talk to you. Nobody ever went in the office. I was like, ever.
And he called you by your full name.
My full name, right. Well, he always did, though. So anyway, I go in the office, and he said, listen, I was talking to your mother, and she said that you were thinking of not going. I was like, yeah, I kind of promised you that I wouldn't quit, and I really like it. Like, I'm learning how to actually make pastry. I wasn't good, but I was getting the handle of the spatula. Because when I was a kid, I was really just a glorified pan scraper and pan greaser. I did the grunt work and washed the pans. So anyway, he goes, listen, this is a big deal. He goes, I know we talk about you going to college, but this is really a big deal, and I want you to do it. So
He supported you.
yeah, he's like, you go. And again, like I always say, like, he wasn't my stepfather because I was so old, but he never once introduced me as anything other than my son Joseph. And I felt uncomfortable calling him.
Seems like a real guy.
Yeah,
Real good.
calling him dad. So I didn't want to call him Mike. I thought that was disrespectful. So I called him boss. But anyway, he said, you go. He says, and here's the deal. You go, you get through the academy. There'll be no quitting. You graduate, you do it for a year. If in a year you don't like it, come back here. Okay, I'll do it. And once I got through, there was no way I was going back. And
How many years were you a trooper?
22.
Wow. And you still work there?
So I worked there.
Part-time at all? Or?
Yeah, so I used to work Friday and Saturday nights
Just
behind
being a trooper.
the counter with my brother.
Okay.
Friday and Saturday night, how now it's all girls,
How many papas are there?
me and my brother's sister.
Okay. I heard you say Joe, so Angelo is Joe.
Angelo. No, did I say Joe? Yeah, I didn't mean to say Joe.
Did say
Angelo.
Joe a couple times.
I'm Joe.
Yeah, you're Joe. Why would you call yourself Joe?
I don't know.
I heard you say Joe.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't know.
Angelo.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
All right.
But it used to be all guys on Friday and Saturday nights. We were busy. There would be 4 of us, and we would bang out the crowd. And so again, when people talk about
When did you really see it started getting busy?
yeah, so that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Through my lifetime, as an adult anyway, I don't ever remember it not being busy. Now, no, it wasn't as busy as it is now, I guess, but I think the North End wasn't as busy as
True.
it is now. I don't think it's a Mike's specific. I think,
There's just a lot more customers.
right.
today.
Well, again, when I was a teenager, I think there were maybe 10, 12 restaurants. I think there's literally 110.
So how many employees did you have at that time?
Well, it's funny. I feel like the back has always been the same number of workers in the back. So Mike's is split up in 3 divisions.
Production.
Right. There's the back where the oven is, where the cannolis are fried and sheeted, the cakes are made. And then there's a middle back where once that stuff is done, it comes to us. We put it all together. We make it look like what it's gonna be. And then it goes to, well, there's actually a middle room where we have refrigeration. So, you can't make one
To order.
one sheet of rum squares when you're going to need 4 trays for the day. So you make one, put it in the refrigerator, one goes in the store. When that one runs out, put that one in the store. You got to be able to keep up one way or another, or you'll need 2,000 people working in the back, right? One person for every pastry.
Let me ask you, Governor, is that famous Clinton picture still up? Is that?
It's in, I think it's in the Cambridge store.
Oh, it's not in the here.
I don't think so.
Tell us about the Clinton.
It was in the Hanover store for
I
years.
think it's on the right side.
Actually, tell us.
it?
It's on the right side. When you walk past the window, you look to the right. It's right there.
Okay, so there's another one in Cambridge.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. So
There's a big one.
It is.
You're right. A lot of people think because Clinton came into your store, the thing blew up. But you're right. As the North End got busier,
Oh, there's no
every
listen,
place got
in
busier.
any
Mike's is beyond busy.
yes, no
But
doubt.
Tell us the story about how Clinton came about. I know there was a whole story. But
President Clinton.
it was someone before Clinton.
Wild Bill, as I call it. So it was a Monday or a Tuesday night, and my brother and I were in the store, and we got a call from one of the locals. I actually want to think it was David Riccio, but I don't know why.
I met the guy. He's a
Yeah,
nice guy.
yeah. Well, his brother owns the Florentine and
Jerry.
Jerry, right? For some reason, I think it was him, but it may not be. He'll like the shout out anyway, right?
Jerry?
No,
Oh, David.
David.
Oh, David, yeah.
And they had Dan Quayle with them, vice president. They said, do you mind if we bring him in? I'm like, no, bring him in. It was great. Real gentleman, ate a half a cannoli. While he was leaving, my brother said, Mr. Vice President, wait here. I want to get you something. He went in the back, gave him a Mike's Pastry shirt, home of the cannoli. He says, you're the only person in Washington to get this shirt. So he leaves. Maybe a month or so later, my brother gets a call from someone out of Mayor Ray Flynn's office. Now, my cousin Patty was the liaison for the mayor's office with the North End back then. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. And they said, we have the governor of Arkansas over at Circle Pizza. He would like to stop in. Do you mind? My brother's like, no, send them over. My brother said, Joe, night and day from Dan Quayle. He didn't shut up for like 2 hours.
Clinton.
Yeah, very personable, ate 2 whole cannolis, wanted to know Mike's whole story. My brother said, I was so enthralled with him. He said, I said, Mr. Governor, wait
You were
here.
there too?
No, I wasn't there for this one. He went in the back. I've actually never met him.
Really?
He went in the back and he brought him a shirt. And he says, there's only one other person in Washington with this shirt, and that's Vice President Quayle. And Clinton took the shirt, shook my brother's hand, and said, when I win the presidency, I promise I will come back and return Dan Quayle's shirt to you. Months later, after the election, Secret Service calls. My mother has no idea what's going on. This is the Secret Service. You want to come in and talk to you about President Clinton returning, following up on his promise. So my mother's like, yeah, hold on. And, whatever happened, happened. And they came in, and totally different this time around, right?
The president.
He's the president. The street's blocked. Customers are thrown out.
Oh,
Snipe.
geez. He cut the line.
Yeah, snipers on the
cut
roof.
the line.
So my friend Richie got married that day.
That wasn't even president.
My friend Richie got married that day, so I had to go to the wedding, so I missed it. But my brother told me that at one point Mike was like, all right, get him out of here. Like, he's killing my business. Like, people can't come in.
Right?
The store, yeah.
You had to empty the store.
Yeah,
How
I had
long?
emptied the store. I think it was only an hour or so, but my family never
Did he throw you a
grew.
good tip?
I wasn't there.
Oh, Montain.
But my family never grew more than it did that day, because it was supposed to be just employees and family. Everybody who wanted to be my family was in the
I tell you,
store.
Clinton was big. When he became
was great.
president, everybody
Yeah.
loved him.
He invited my mother and Mike to a state dinner
Nice.
at the White
His
House
staff loved him.
for the
mean?
the president of Italy.
Wow.
And when Mike passed away, handwritten note to my
awesome.
mother,
I didn't know that. That's
sending
great.
his condolences.
No, he was.
Did they go to the governor's?
Yeah.
All
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
the dinner.
Yeah.
Those
So
are
that's the picture that I
those are
thought he
worth
was
a couple
talking about.
thousand apiece.
Sure. Okay.
To go to dinner?
Oh yeah. I thought you meant
yeah.
the pictures.
No, the dinner.
Yeah, definitely.
Easy.
Definitely. Oh, it was great.
Did he meet anybody there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They danced next to each other. He was a very personable person. For
He
sure.
seems like a real people person.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. And Hillary, I think at one point was
We're talking about Bill.
Hillary's Secretary Clinton. She was on the board, I think, for the Old Knot Church. So every once in a while, not too often, but every once in a while, I know that we would send stuff to them and they would bring it back to
didn't know
Washington.
that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Can I clarify one thing? I think we talked about this.
Go ahead.
There was like a rumor years later that they owed us for like 800 cannolis that he took on Air Force One.
800.
Never happened. Like, I
a lot of
don't,
cannolis.
right? I don't even know
read
where
about
the,
that.
That's
I
a
don't know.
great rumor.
Yeah, right.
I would have said it's true.
That's actually in books, I think. Yeah.
Is it?
Is it really?
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah.
Wow.
Slander.
Hasn't been back since.
So let me ask you something.
No.
I don't know when Mike passed away or anything. I know we'll get into that. If
2012.
you did try. Did he get to see the big success of that store?
Sure.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. Listen, again, I think every year that
What
go
year did he pass?
2012.
Okay, so about 12 years ago.
Yeah. I think every year that passes, we get a little bit busier. Like,
Well, you guys expanded also.
right. Well, to the other stores, but I'm talking specifically Hanover Street. Not that the line gets longer, but we tend to produce more. We tend to sell more. But again, I think that is the North End. Like, I think if they were being honest, every business would say, at a minimum, there's the potential of getting busier every year. Now,
You're in the right spot.
sure. Well, Okay, so yes and no again.
Any spot there. Is
Right. So
North End is it?
okay,
it's
yes,
Italian, it's
yes.
bakery,
The North
it's-
End. Listen, they back in the 50s, I think it was. They built the Freedom Trail. They wanted to bring people into Boston. They were coming up with these different ideas. The Freedom Trail is almost 3 miles long. How many businesses do you think the Freedom Trail passes? Hundreds of stores get passed. Like, why is it Mike's has benefited from the Freedom Trail? Because we're on Hanover Street. How many businesses are on Hanover Street? Aren't they benefiting from the
majority.
same thing? Right. How many restaurants are on Hanover Street? Listen, people have to understand one thing, and I don't want to put words in other people's mouths, but anyone who thinks that they're the attraction of the North End any more than Mike's Pastry is, they're out of their minds. They're just full of themselves. That doesn't mean they don't have good restaurants. It doesn't mean that they don't have good, whatever the store is. But they are successful because the North End is successful. And the North End is successful because they are successful. It's not, we're not successful because of anybody else other than Mike's Pastry and the North End. The North End blew up, everybody blew up, and everybody has the same potential as everybody else.
It's a combination of
No doubt.
you guys growing up there,
Absolutely.
knowing the place,
Of course.
being Italian.
Well, but it's the
You're,
truth.
Ita-
And I
you're
think,
selling Italian culture.
right. No,
Okay.
no, I agree with
And
you.
I give you credit, the Papa family, Mike.
Well,
I
let me
give-
stop you. My brother. You can give me credit because you and
That's
I,
fine.
you and I know each other.
I
And
don't know your brother.
Well, my brother is.
I'd love to meet him, but
Let me tell you something. If I told you half of what he does, here, how's this? Mike's Pastry is open every single day from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Sunday, I think we close at 9. That's when he decides. He's there an hour before every shift and there until closing, which means they have to clean, which is usually an hour, every day with the exception of Tuesday. So his week starts on Wednesday morning. We open at 8. He's there by 6:30, 7 o'clock. He leaves at 10:30 at night, and then he goes all the way till Monday. And maybe on Monday, if we're not busy enough, he might leave at 5, 6 o'clock. But other than that, it's Tuesday. And his only instruction to me is, Joe, unless the store is burning, don't call me on Tuesday. Just like Mike. Do not call me on Tuesday. That's my only day. You know what he does on Tuesday? He drives to Billerica, picks up his grandkids, drives them to school, then goes back, takes them for lunch, buys them something, and then goes home. And then he starts his week again. And we're going on 35 years of him doing this.
but that's what I'm saying. The Papas were a big part of Mike's
Yeah,
life
absolutely.
that made
Right. And vice
Mike's Pastry
sure.
what it is today.
And vice versa.
You know, in family business, it's tough. Not all families' business work.
No, and know why it worked? Because Mike had strict guidelines. Listen, there were plenty of times.
People couldn't deal with some.
That's right.
His own kid, I don't think, dealt with it.
That's right.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say.
I
Doesn't
didn't
work for
Let me
everybody.
tell you, it used to drive me crazy. If I listen, I was a teenager. Go drink at night and wake up at 7:30, and get to work by 8 o'clock. You get there at 8:05, and you'd be like, "Go, take the day off. I don't need you." It was just that cut and dry.
Our original podcast was about Italians, and we went back and forth. I don't have statistics. It's just the people that I talked to
Sure.
thousands of people, friends, family, everybody. But it's the same story all the time. Family businesses are tough.
Tough, sure.
But to make something work, you got to put 1,000% in it.
Yeah.
And you guys had what it takes.
Yeah.
I know. I appreciate you even giving your brother compliment. That just shows you.
What's your brother's name? The first?
Angelo.
Angelo. Yeah. Shout out to Angelo.
Yeah, big. It takes.
Oh, he's an animal. He's
It
an
takes a
absolute
conductor,
animal.
the leader. Someone has to lead everybody.
So Mike always taught us one thing.
And you know what it took? You gotta get up early in the morning.
Sure.
that's
But Mike always
That's the secret.
Mike
Nobody
always-
believes me. You gotta get up early.
Mike always told us,
Cliche,
you have to
cliche.
work so that your employees work to your level.
Yes.
Because once you slack off, they're going to say, well, it's okay for
You gotta
me
get
to
in the
slack off.
trenches.
That's
man.
right.
Julius
That's right.
Caesar was in the
Owning a bakery, you absolutely have to get up early.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's too early. I worked for Piano Dosi. Forget it.
You're right about that.
I crashed a few vehicles.
Yeah, it happens.
Fall asleep.
Big picture.
I think I booked you once.
What does the future hold for Mike's Pastry?
Oh, my God.
Good question.
Yeah. I don't know.
What do you see 20 years down the road?
All right. So I think for us, and by us I mean me, my brother, and my sister. I mean, I hope my mother lives past 100 years old, but she'll be beyond the 100 years in 20 years. I think we're looking at status quo. I don't think we're going to expand anymore, although you never know. After that, I don't know. The kids have their own minds. They have been very helpful in growing the business.
How old is your kids involved?
So my 3 kids are involved. My son, Joseph, is 33. I hate to say manages because my brother runs everything.
Yeah,
But he
how about
manages
your
the-
brother's kids.
So he has 3 daughters, 2 work for the business.
So you have multiple.
I have
puppets
3 kids.
involved.
They all work for the
Next
business.
generation.
And my sister has 3 boys. 1 works for the. 1 does some social media stuff for us, but 1 works day to day.
You have 6 people.
Yeah.
Depending on.
Yeah. So like our hope, and by us I mean me, my brother, and I'll throw my sister in there. I think our hope is that we keep it another generation. Even if it's just the way it is. I think the kids feel like, listen, we joke, me and my sons all the time, if we wanted, we could become Entenmann's. We could be that big. We can open up commissaries. We can, but my brother's,
They take it to another level.
yeah, right. But my brother's fear is it's not ever what Mike wanted. Although, I don't know if I told you this.
Mike was an innovator.
You know Mike used to sell cookies to Star Market.
Really?
Where Salem area is on Richmond Street? No, on Richmond Street.
Oh yeah.
Underneath Felicia's.
Yeah.
He had that property as well as Hanover Street, and he used to have girls in the back boxing cookies. He would keep his boxes and tables, and they would box cookies, and he would deliver them to different Star Markets. 2 things happened. 1, if they didn't sell all of them, they kind of force you to take them back. And I think at some point Mike said, I'm big enough where I don't have to do that. And 2, grocery stores got smart. We'll make our own cookies.
So that's a good question. Did Mike, the money he made through the pastry business, did he buy multiple properties in the North End, or did he do anything else with the money, property-wise, or other businesses?
No, not in the
Just
North End.
concentrated
Yeah.
on
So
Mike's pastry.
yeah, so I won't get too much into
You
this.
guys are the ones who expanded Mike's.
Yeah.
He stick with one. He was with only one.
Only one, but
location.
let me try to explain that story to you. Again, first of all, years ago we wanted to go up. We wanted to build up on Mike's because we're like the only 1-level store. And
Let me guess who held you back.
yeah, I'm not going there.
Holds
It's
everybody back.
It just is what it is. So Mike wasn't doing well physically at that time, and it wasn't worth it for us. So we said, just let it go. It's not a big deal. But thank God, because if we did do it, we wouldn't have opened the other stores. But when Mike's death became imminent, for lack of a better term, we were sitting around. Listen, we're still a family. We're sitting around.
This is when he passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that for you? It must have been a big blow to the family.
So I think it took so long.
Transition.
Yeah, again, at 80, he was like 50, and then it was a slow progression. Then he got better, and he was doing well, and then he wasn't doing well. And the last 3 years were pretty difficult, especially on my mother, which is why I spent so much time. I shouldn't say so much time, as much time as I did there. But really towards the end, I'm talking like the last month where we just didn't know how long. I remember one nurse telling us, sometimes it takes 9 months to be born. Sometimes it takes 9 months to die. So although he's in hospice and you guys are helping him, don't think, this may not be tomorrow. This may not be next month.
What happened to him? Oh, he had the.
Well, he got in the accident. He had something with his brain, but I don't know. I think it might have just been old age in
What year was that?
2012.
12. So he did see some.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Major success.
Yeah, but while we
It's crazy.
while we were sitting around, and I hate to use the term deathbed, but while we were sitting around, we were telling stories like all families do when someone's passing. And truth be told, he loved the store more than anything, more than any of us. My mother would say, "Oh no, not me," and she might have been right because he really loved my
Let
mother.
me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Because I'm in the same situation since when I started getting into business. Does your mother have anything to do with his influence in business?
Not in business.
Did she?
Not in business. My mother.
She didn't push him. She didn't.
No, I think what my mother did was teach him how to live, like how to enjoy.
Relax.
Yeah, how to enjoy the
what he
fruits.
has.
Yes, no doubt. Because prior to that, he was the guy who was just always in the store.
Just
but-
workaholic.
Yeah, but after that, like slowly, like not right away, but they bought the house in Florida, and they would go down
So
there.
he did travel.
Oh yeah.
He did enjoy life.
He absolutely enjoyed life. And I hesitate to say this, but it is true. A lot of it was because of my brother. My brother allowed him to go. Like, I don't need, like, not that I don't need you. Because when so my brother had been running Mike's for like 30 years.
Sounds like Angelo's almost like
Oh, he's no.
groomed by Angelo,
Yeah.
not by Michael.
Not,
by Mike.
not seems like. Absolutely. Yeah. But
He's
my,
older than you.
yeah. My brother used to tell me, like, I know I run the business, like he's gone months at a time, and I run this business. I'm petrified when this guy dies. Like, because now it's just me. Like, I'm here. And I think that's one of the reasons he was a little bit happy that I went back. I think if he was being honest, I was a bit of a letdown. I think he thought I was going to be living there with him, but I've taken on other roles and I've done other things, which
it's fine.
I know he appreciates.
There's a
But let me
line-
get back to
Yeah, go
let me get back to Mike. So we're all sitting around, telling stories, and somebody said, the only thing he really cared about was the store. Why don't we consider, like, the one way we can honor him the best is to make sure that his name just keeps growing. And from that conversation, it was like, hey, why don't we start looking at other places?
So did you tell him you were going to do it?
No. By then, I don't think it.
But he had all the years around him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Again, like,
So
listen,
he passed away happy.
he did. Yeah.
You guys are good people.
Thank you. I like to think so.
No,
Listen, we're very appreciative of, what he did for us.
Oh, you guys did it for each other.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, that's what
That's
family
big.
does.
You know what? I got to tell you something.
Go ahead.
I boast about Italians because I am Italian, number one, and number two, I've experienced living in this environment of growing up Italian, and I'm not degrading any other culture or anything like that. I'm just talking about what I've experienced. And to hear you say, I went to Auntie's house, I went to my grandmother's, we were all in one building. Same thing in my house, two family, my aunt next door, another two family, my cousins, two doors down, another set of cousins. To grow up with, look at me, I'm still with my cousins, you know what I mean?
My cousins.
We do everything amongst family. People are like, who's your best friend? I'm like, I got my cousins, you know what I mean? And that is so big to grow up within family and listen to things your mother said, your grandmother said, your grandfather said.
Right.
All my information comes from these people.
Right.
My uncles. We were fortunate enough to have a lot of uncles that inspired us in different ways. Who was a true greaser? Who was more Americanized? You got all different kind of information from them. Right. And to hear you say that, I think that's the bond that Italians have. I'm speaking for Italians only, Jay.
Like I said,
Right now, I'm speaking for Italians.
I'm taking a reprieve tonight. I'm going to honor our esteemed guest here and take a reprieve.
But I'm speaking for Italians. What I've
I
experienced.
will save it for a future
But I know it happens
occasion.
in other cultures.
Go ahead.
I don't know how I gotta explain myself. But anyway, I think it has a big part of being successful in life.
Absolutely. Well, it's the unconditional love.
And it
is.
keeps
It's-
people
yeah.
together. If one strays, you have a big support
That's right.
system. And we talk about this support system, which I love the word support. I hate the word privilege. I love the word support.
Sure.
It's important to support each other in family. Unfortunately, Italians are,
Understood.
we insult each other. We're
Understood.
crazy. Some of us,
I have Irish friends who say, if I ever talk to my family the way you guys talk to each other every day, we would never talk again.
and you know what the crazy thing is? I have a meat fest twice a year. And a kid came up to me, a good friend of mine, and he says, do you realize you got like 60% of Irish and mixed different cultures of friends? I go, yeah, it's not all Italians.
Right.
It's mostly diverse.
Right.
There's a small group of Italians other than my cousins and few. But I think that's the number one thing that people need to understand. You want to have kids, family, you got to stick together. And living together. Now, today, who moves
Right.
a couple cities over? When we grew up in those 2, 3, 5, 6 family homes, I mean, Jason was in the North End, too. And we all went to visit him. Bruno slept there, every weekend?
Mostly, yeah, I was there.
I got stuck at my grandmother's house.
Huh?
But, we were always together, And my uncle had the feast. We did the feast together. It's important to do things together. That's why they do sausages together. You guys did the bakery together. We do, we make wine together. It's important.
Told you
That's what
now
keeps-
on Sunday, 30 people at my house.
Yeah.
Sunday dinner, 30
Absolutely. Now, Stephanie took over.
people. Well, she didn't take over.
Well, she gave you a break.
She gave me a break with my granddaughter.
And for the record, Stephanie might be the best baker I've ever met.
Okay. I'm all right with it. It's my niece, too.
So, I think I almost answered your question, but working together, how was it working with all your family? There had to be some battles.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
You
think
guys stuck together.
Right. I think I was getting at that. Mike was, again, business is business, has absolutely nothing to do with family. When we leave here, we're family again.
Yeah,
it's,
you have to.
right.
you
It's
have
not
to-
right. It's nothing personal.
Yeah, nothing personal.
Yeah. Yeah, but my brother has a rule. Like when we get together at Christmas time or something, like don't talk about. Like I don't want to talk about this story. Like don't bring up an issue that's going on in Cambridge while we're having Easter dinner. Or like I just.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, I don't
There's
want.
no way.
Right. I don't want to.
You know what the biggest beef in my family was?
You?
No. Yeah, unfortunately.
Hard to believe.
The New York Rangers and the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, you could find things to argue
Fuck,
about.
how crazy
Right?
is that?
Right? Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Me and my brother used to talk. I know she wants to go, but listen, me and my brother used to talk. We used to work across from each other. And we would quite literally talk about all the things that we wanted to do with Mike's Pastry. And I'm not talking like business-wise, but I'm talking like neighborhood-wise. Like we should do this, we should do this. And he's done it. Like my brother has sponsored North End hockey for I don't know how many
give
years,
back.
and nobody knows. Like he won't let them put Mike's Pastry on a shirt. No, North End
He does it
baseball,
unconditionally.
the Dodgers, the Little League, St. John's School, the Health Center,
That's awesome.
the Elliott School.
Now they know.
How about
Yeah.
St.
Oh,
Louis?
so me and my brother, and I'm telling you, he used to always tell me, "Don't you dare say anything." But as we get older,
course.
I'm like, dude, like enough. Like people shouldn't know.
Sounds like a real great guy.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah. Great big brother.
Good looking as you.
No, I mean, how could you be? Shaves every day,
He does.
like every day. Like you never see a hair on his
Oh,
face.
yeah, he's a businessman. He's
I
there
guess.
every day, correct?
He is. Well, not Tuesday.
Well, not Tuesday, but
So
that's,
Although not every Tuesday, because if Tuesday falls like Easter week, he was there Tuesday. He won't have a day off until.
So I got to give you guys credit. I mean, you grew up down the North End. I mean, Mike's Pastry, other businesses. We're here with Joe. We'll talk about Mike. It did change the North End. You know,
Well, I mean, it became the face of the North End almost in a way. Like
I got to say,
a
it
place
is.
like Mike's, a place like the Regina's, they were the signature, iconic. When people 3,000 miles away thought of the North End, those were the two places.
Imagine that.
that
Do you ever think of that? Or you
I do.
Oh, you do.
I do, yeah.
You're right. He 3,000 miles away.
Yeah,
we talk about
and I'll tell you,
Mike's
like when it really hits me, like if me and my wife, both my kids played college baseball, so we did a lot of traveling with them. I'd be in Ohio, Athens, Ohio. It's 4 inches from Kentucky, and I talk to people. Hey, we from Boston? Oh my God, when I go to Boston, I go to Mike's Pastry.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm like,
you
how
know,
do you,
isn't that
you're in
great, though?
Ohio. It blows my. We used to drive there like maybe once every 10 days to watch him play, and I would bring mini cannolis, and I'll tell you, people would come up. Oh my God, you went to Mike's? Like they know. So no matter where you go, it's always there. Florida, everybody knows. Yeah. So yeah, I do get it, and it does hit me every once in a while. Like, wow. But I take no credit for it. Like keep that in mind.
You were part of it.
Like Barack
You were
Obama
part of
said,
it.
you didn't build it. I didn't build it, but more importantly, we didn't screw it up.
You're right.
We kept it going. I don't want to say we made it better. We made it bigger.
Usually the next generation.
Always.
screws it up.
I said this at Harpoon. Check for us. I take great pride in that because
That's what you got to tell your kids.
right.
Keep going.
You know, the other thing I wanted to tell you, I know you were talking about, the tourist thing. When Mike died, our Facebook page blew up so much. I mean, you're talking thousands of posts. You know what all the posts were? I remember going there, visiting my grandmother, going to Mike's, getting donuts on Sunday or Saturday, or being there for Easter. Not all those people are tourists, right? I'm telling you, we get more than our fair share. I will admit, we get our fair share of tourists. We get our fair share of non-North Enders who think they're North Enders because their grandmother.
People that moved out of the North End,
That's
they go
right.
back.
We absolutely get our fair share of all those categories, unequivocally. Sorry.
It's a great thing. There are a few other people in the North End. You guys are ground zero. I
would
would
agree.
give you that.
I would agree.
Then there's Frank DiPasquale.
Yep.
He put the restaurants on the map.
Yeah, I won't say he put it. He does a great everything.
He invested.
I think everything.
He had the energy to invest.
Yeah.
A lot of time. You give up a lot of time to run multiple restaurants.
Absolutely.
I've been in business. I know what it
Yeah,
takes.
and no bad ones.
But
They're always good when you go in.
it's all about marketing, and I got to give it up to Nick Verano, who probably marketed the best. You know what I mean? A little little restaurant. He fucking blew it up. You know, end up with multiple restaurants.
Right.
He hooked up with, and I know he loves Frank DiPasquale. I guess they're really close. You know, they opened up in the.
That's not the same thing to a business like this, because a business like this.
I gave him the number one
Yeah,
spot.
no, but the reason
and simply
I'm sorry.
because
I'm talking
also
about the North End.
Yeah.
they legitimately have an ancestral connection to the North End. These other guys have sort of co-opted the North End sort of reputation, and they're running with it, and they're marketing it as their own. Mike's is distinctively the North End.
Is the cannolis, the bakery.
But
They do have the number one spot.
it has roots in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Roots.
And that's a big difference.
But the reason I wasn't laughing at you talking about Strager and Nicky Verano, one of the, I don't want to say
Nicky
knocks.
was born in the North End. No? Raised?
You'll have to ask him. But
Thought he was.
anyway, that made me lose my train of thought, but I'm going to get it back.
You weren't laughing at Nicky.
Right. But one of the knocks that I've heard from even like people that I won't say they're friends, but they're not then friends, is Mike's used to be good, but they got too commercial. We've never paid. We've never paid for advertising. In fact, I just turned down the Red Sox, and I'm not bragging about it, but they wanted small money to be in their media guide, and I said, we don't pay. And the reason we don't pay is my brother's sick of hearing people saying they're commercialized. We can't stop that Harpoon wanted to make a beer with us. We can't help that whoever runs best of whatever, Mike's Pastry is there, right? There's nothing we can do about that, but we can't control. We're not going to pay you to put a banner up and tell us that we're the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know why? We already know we're the greatest thing since sliced bread, so we don't have to
amazing
do
how
it.
you keep it
Let's hope the next generation.
original.
Yeah.
You guys really keep it original.
Yeah, and again,
going.
And keep up with it.
right, and again, I appreciate it, but it really does fall back to my brother. And the reason I say that is I think like if my mother was actually in charge, if someone came and said, hey, we want you to make chips for us, well, we'll let this other company make the chips. We'll put our name on it, and
Yeah.
you know, what's the difference? Listen, if someone wants to give you $1 million to put your name on chips, take the $1 million. It's not how my brother looks at it. And again, I can't tell you what the kids are going to do. I'll be gone. I'll be in the box. You know, they do what they want. But for now, this is the way it's going to be run. This is the way he does it. And the secret to our success is we all know he's the boss, including my mother. And she's the majority shareholder. But she knows he's the boss. What he says goes.
He proves himself.
Right. We can give him our opinion. And if he says shove it, we shove it.
Well, we've been in a family business, the florist, but I don't know if you know.
I do.
Oh, okay. And
Something in
it's
lollipops.
been a family, lollipops and roses in Medford, Mass.
Frank Flowers.
Frank Flowers. It's my wife and I started. We weren't even married when we started, but just to go into the same thing, you know, it was all family, and then especially when holidays come, I'd be like, I call him, I call all my cousins, come on in, I need your help. And you know, and as a family, we all work together. We got it done, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But imagine asking strangers to help
Right.
you. It's hard to put so many people to help you.
Yeah.
And
We've been-
today it's gone to one cousin. He had it for 10 years. My wife still works there. She takes care. I bailed out, and then it went to another set of family, and they're making a living on it, a living off of it. So it's good to have a success. Not everybody gets to enjoy a successful business.
Sure.
It takes the right dedication. I don't think people understand. You don't think about hours.
Right. No, you're right.
Because if you do the math,
Right.
you're making
We've
minimum wage.
we've also been very fortunate throughout the years to have good crews. From even like the old women who were there during Mike's time to the young girls we have now.
Because you guys
We
obviously
treat them well.
you
We pay them well.
Yeah.
But without them, it can't get done.
No.
There's only so many.
Obviously,
family
you guys are
members.
doing the right thing, and there's a combination of things you have to do to make a business
No doubt.
successful. And you guys,
No doubt.
your brother Angelo, obviously
Monster.
is the conductor,
Monster. His fingers go all different ways,
right?
from the spatulas and yeah.
And I guess I have a friend of mine, Joe Bono.
I know Joe.
Yeah, he's undercover down the north end. He does a real good job out there.
He does. Yeah, I like Joe.
He has multiple restaurants.
Yeah.
You don't see him anywhere.
Right.
But he does feeds the whole.
I was in his
into the
place on
business.
Salem Street not long ago.
Joe Bono does a great job.
Yeah, he was in there.
Yeah.
Came over and apologized, by the way. I was supposed to bring a cake for somebody's birthday, and I didn't want to bother my brother. Like, I didn't want, the line was out the door. I don't want to fight through everyone, so I didn't go. Like, why can't we have dinner? We're 60 years old. We have to have cakes. And somebody must have told Joe we don't have cakes. So he called my brother, couldn't get through. So he went to another bakery and got the cake. And I asked, not because the cake wasn't from Mike's, but I was supposed to bring the cake. How did we get a cake? And I said, hey, where'd we get the cake? And Joe comes running over. He goes, I always go to you first. He goes, I said, Joe, that's not what I was asking.
He didn't cut the line?
No, I don't know. No, Joe's usually good. He's all right. He calls first.
I mean, Jay knows Joe. Joe,
I like Joe.
great kid.
I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah. I think you gave us all. You have anything else to say about Mike's?
No.
That's a great story.
Can I run around the table chanting we're number one?
Sure. I already gave you the number one position.
You can get up on the table.
I got to tell you, I give it up to those Italian guys that came from, people that came from Italy and had that mentality and physical strength to do what they had to do. You
Yeah,
know what I
no
mean?
doubt.
Survive.
Yeah.
And it turned into a big winner.
Yeah,
For
no
not
doubt.
only him.
Yeah.
Think about how many people you feed.
Yeah.
Within the family.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I take that. I'm very proud when I hear stories like that. I know Jay wants his statistics, but my statistics go only to people I talk to.
I'm just going to say this as a final note on my behalf from
Yeah,
the
go
side
ahead.
of the table. Like I said before, in honor of our esteemed guest here, I was on my best behavior. But to all my minions out there, next time around, the voice of the voiceless will be back.
So I know I said in the beginning, Jason and Joe are related. They have a lot of history going back. I heard you guys talking earlier with your uncles. You were mostly
No, my
friendly.
grandfather.
No, but you were friendly with his uncles.
Yeah,
Ralphie,
Right, okay.
Inky.
Yes.
They were great guys in the North End.
Yeah.
Inky the best. We were little kids. Inky used to put us on buildings. 6 floors up.
6 foot.
To throw paper off the roof.
Right at the
Imagine, hold on,
Yeah.
now we all have kids.
St. Anthony's Feast. Yeah.
Imagine you, and at the time he was he liked his drink.
That wasn't Inky. That was Michael.
Not Inky, I'm sorry. Inky was the
I
word.
know
You're
you-
right, Michael. Michael used to take, I'm sorry, Ink. And Michael used to take us to rooftops with bags of shredded paper
yeah.
during the feast. We were what?
7, 8, 9.
Leaning over a building, dumping paper.
Did you cut your own paper?
No, they
question.
they
No, they
shredded
had
it
There was a
in
place in
bags.
North Station. Remember that place in North Station?
No, I only remember the old police station that was the paper company, and they used to give you the envelope windows. They would punch the windows out.
No,
these
these
shredded.
We'd get giant box of them, right? It was up on North Street. It was the
Jason's
building way in
family.
the back.
Yeah,
Del
North
Rocco's.
Street.
Yeah.
Del
Yeah,
Rocco's.
no, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's not North Street, not North
Yeah,
Street.
that's where we
North
got
Street,
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
the same thing.
Mike used to do that every year.
That was the paper company. It used to be District
that's right.
1A.
There was 4 feet of paper in the
Yeah.
ground. Remember, we used
Yeah.
to jump in it. Inky, God bless his soul, he died too young, but he came to Medford. He was working for a company. I forget the guy's name, a pizza place. You know, now that we're older, we used to go in there. We used to order subs, pizza, zero. Boom, he give it to us for nothing. You know.
So he's a good guy.
No, I mean we knew Inky since we
I
were
know.
kids. You know, he always took care of us. But Joe, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thing. I hope everybody understood that you got to wake up early in the morning.
Joe, I'm sure Mike is looking down. He's
Oh
probably
yeah, Mike's
and Angelo and your
I
sister.
hope.
Your sister is
Elaine,
Elaine.
named after Auntie Helen.
I'm sure he's very proud of you three and whoever else is
Thank you.
involved.
It takes a lot to take a business to the next level.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And your sons and your nephews and nieces, I'm sure they'll do the same. You got the customers coming in.
No doubt.
That's the hardest
Yeah.
part.
Right.
Here's the family.
All right, salute.
Salute.
Oh, hold on. Oh, wait a minute.
All right.
And Frank, thanks for calling us.
All right.
Frank, thanks for calling us best friends. I like that.
Yeah, nice, right?
Whoa, Cheers. We got it.
Cheers.
I know.
Salute.
Cheers.
Got to touch everybody. It's
The family.
no bueno luck.
We've been overrated, but we'll get into that.